Better babes, how are you? Welcome back to Getting Better with Jonathan Van Ness. Hope you're doing well. I'm just auditioning the Better Babes thing. I'm not sure if it's going to stick, but only one way to find out, you know? Love. We want more of it. It's kind of harder to feel it these days, I think, than it has been in a really long time. We have an abundance of fear. We have a lack of connection, and I think a lack of love, not only for ourselves, but also for each other. In my 38 years of life, newly 38 years of life, I don't know if I've ever seen a time that has had such a lack of love, a lack of connection, and such an abundance of fear. I don't know if it's social media, the internet, or what it is, but we have so much information. There's so much overwhelm. And I don't want to feel overwhelmed, but I also don't want to feel unaware. I want to understand the world around us. I want to understand people around us, around me, and I want to be able to choose love. I want to be able to choose connection. How can we balance loving ourselves, but also showing up for others? How can I be less pissed off at people on the internet? How can I, instead of choosing anger and frustration, how can I choose love? We have like an amazing, like most perfect, also, can I just say adorable person, not to make you feel uncomfortable right at the very top, honey. But we're joined by someone today who spent years helping people navigate healing and emotional transformation. Yung Pueblo, also known as Diego Perez. You probably know him from his books, Inward Clarity and Connection, or Lighter, his deeply insightful poetry and essays on self-awareness, or his latest book, How to Love Better, The Path to Deeper Connection Through Growth, Kindness, and Compassion. And today we're asking, how in spite of all this stuff going on, can we choose love? Diego, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm so happy to be here.
Can you believe that I'm 38 and that it's already March? About to be April.
Absolutely can. And I'm 37, so I'm right there with you.
Oh my God. So were you an 87 baby or an 88 baby?
87.
Oh my God, what a good year. I'm an 87 baby as well.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
November 25th.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
It's really fun. I love growing up, and I love that you're not combating age. It's like
I'm trying to be a pro-age girl.
It's a warm welcoming, you know?
Although I will say, I am starting to understand what older people were talking about.
Yeah.
I am embracing age and also like my tits.
Yeah.
You know? It's a lot.
It's challenging. It's challenging. The body's not quite the same as it was in the mid-20s, but it is what it is.
I just 28-year-old me could have never foreseen that I would survive like an era of my life where I had two buttholes. But I did. And I did survive it. And part of that was literally choosing love.
Yeah.
It really was. It was, I mean, if you've been a long time listener of the podcast, go back and watch or listen to the Fistula episode. It was before we were on camera, thank God. Okay, I don't know why that always comes up for me. It just does.
No,
trauma, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's help me more about you. Your work is all about emotional healing and self-awareness. How does someone's emotional healing journey and their relationship to emotional healing impact how they relate to the world?
It's really important. I mean, if you can't see yourself, then you're going to have it's going to be a struggle to fully see the people around you, especially the people that you love. So I think one thing that became really clear for me when I started meditating was that I was woefully immature. I started realizing I have so much growing up to do. And it immediately pointed my attention to the fact that my relationships were very surface level. My relationship with my partner at the time, who's now my wife, with my parents, with my siblings, I realized that I couldn't go deeper with them because I was afraid of my own emotions. And really understanding that my freedom is based in my ability to observe my own tumultuousness and be able to honestly hold space for it. And it was so interesting. I went into meditating because honestly, I really needed to save myself. Before that, I was doing, I was filling myself up with drugs, filling myself up with alcohol, just running away from my emotions through this medium of intoxicants. And I was just reaching a breaking point. So when I went to meditating, I went to save myself. But what was interesting was the same skills that I was developing, awareness, non-reaction, compassion, they were the same skills that then started also opening up a new chapter for my relationship. So How to Love Better really, came from the shock of oh wait, there is a bridge here between my personal transformation and how I show up for
So it's
others.
like you went for yourself, but then accidentally it like helped you transform like other people.
I helped me transform the way I show up for other people, because I can't really change anyone, but I can do my best to. And it's so funny because it's so deeply related to the fact that when I could feel my own emotions and have the courage to just be with them, because I used to be so scared of anxiety, so scared of sadness, they would feel like demons in the night. You know, when you're trying to go to sleep as a little kid and you're looking at the shadows and you're so fearful of them. But when I started challenging myself to just feel and not run away, it became so much more doable to be patient during arguments, to be patient during moments where there was misunderstanding, and to try to figure out, okay, what can we do to better see each other?
That kind of reminds me of that idea of like yoga when teachers say like how you do things on the mat is how you do things off the mat.
It's almost like building emotional resilience. It's like I can tolerate this sadness, and it's a degree of subtlety, right? Where it's not just black and white in terms of like, okay, you're not trying to suppress the sadness, but you're also not trying to necessarily let it just take control over your actions, but you're just trying to feel it and be with it, honor the fact that it's there, and also simultaneously understand that this is totally impermanent. So, in terms of moments of arguments in your partnership, it's like, wait, this is challenging. I don't love it. I don't like that we're having an argument, but I'm not under threat. I'm talking to my best friend, I'm talking to the person I love. And there's a way to be able to understand each other without having everything fall apart.
One of the biggest themes in your book is that love is not just about romance, it's about growth.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I mean, it's fundamental. I mean, with your own relationship, I've been with my partner for almost 17 years now. We've been married it's going to be 10 years this summer. And we have gone through so many chapters of who we are as individuals. Because when you think about the universe, this is a universe of change at the atomic level, the biological level, the cosmological level. Everything is flowing and changing and moving forward. So, what does that mean? You have to work with the universe as opposed to against it. And that really is embracing the truth of change. Like, who I am now is going to flow and evolve. Who my partner is going to flow and evolve. So that means when you're in a relationship, you can't come at it from a place of attachment. If you come at it from a place of attachment where you're craving for everything to exist in a very particular way, you're going to suck the life out of a relationship. Instead, the opposite of attachment is embracing change. And I think when you embrace change, that means that you're willing to grow. You can look at yourself and be like, I can get better at listening. I can become a little more patient. And you can appreciate the fact that you're an imperfect person, but also realize I have some things to work on.
I've been there before, done that a few times, in lots of ways. And it's hard and it's scary. I mean, sitting with those parts of yourself is uncomfortable and it can be scary, but it's something we can do. I think something that we very often hear is this idea that you can't love someone else until you love yourself. Do you feel like that's true? Where do you fall on that?
You can look at it so many different ways. Like, I know that there is a limit of how much you can love another, and it is connected to how much you can show up for yourself and your own emotions. But there are also so many cases where parents who they themselves have gone through so much trauma are actively not trying to repeat that trauma, even though they haven't necessarily processed their emotions or have gone to therapy or started meditating or doing whatever it is that they need to heal themselves. They haven't gone through the healing, but they know what not to do. And in that moment, they're like doing their best to show up, even though they're, fallible, imperfect, they make mistakes. So there's honoring that reality, but then there's also honoring the reality that there is an intrinsic connection between how you're able to embrace the field of your emotional range and how much you can just accept your own ups and downs, and how that helps you show up for the ups and downs of every relationship that you have.
So, what do you think? What is the biggest mistake people make when it comes to love and connection?
I mean, there's a bunch. One of the biggest mistakes is thinking that a relationship is just going to fix everything for you, that it's going to not only make your exterior world peaceful, but your interior world peaceful. Your partner is not going to be able to solve your emotional problems. Your partner may be able to be such a good giver, such a good supporter of your happiness. And if you have heavy emotional blocks that need your attention, you're not going to be able to receive well. So that's one thing. It's like your relationship is not going to be able to fix what's happening inside of you. Also, your relationship is not going to be constantly blissful. That's something that has been fed to us by romantic comedies, which I love, right? Love watching a good romantic comedy, but relationships are so much more complex. In the same way that you have ups and downs in your own emotions, your relationship is going to have ups and downs, and you can be in a healthy relationship and still go through ups and downs. So that's why it's really important to understand that, like, you need to have not only a culture that appreciates the fact when an argument does come up as, oh, this is an opportunity for us to become closer together, but
Mm.
also just having that framework already built into your mind where it's like, okay, a challenge comes up. I'm not necessarily going to jump right into the blame game. Sure, someone may need to apologize, but I'm going to try my best to understand, like, what's going on. How, why do you feel the way that you feel? Let me share how I feel, and let's, come to a degree of understanding.
How can you recognize, though, if we're loving from a place of fear versus a place of connection?
That's a really good question. I think you can recognize it if there's a lot of tension in your mind. And I think that's something that you can develop an understanding of over time by simply pointing your attention inward and being able to feel the way your emotions change. And when you're coming from a place of attachment, right, which is could be considered a place of fear, or it could be also be considered a place of craving, where you want things to happen in a very particular way, then the mind is going to feel a certain degree of tension. You're not going to feel like fully at peace. And the opposite end of that is when you are coming from a place of love, there is this ease in giving where you want to help someone else shine. You want to give to see the joy in someone's face, and there's a lightness to that. So you can really feel the difference between that lightness and that tension.
I love that.
Mhm.
Why is personal healing so important when it comes to having strong relationships?
So many relationships are based on proximity, right? So like literally like closeness, like how close is this person to you, physically, or if you spend a lot of time talking to them on your phone. One thing you'll notice in any relationship where there is close proximity is that they're going to see the best of you and they're going to see the worst of you. If it's someone that you're really close to, it could be your parents, it could be, friends, it could be your partner, whoever it is, there will be a high degree of vulnerability there where you can just show up however you are. And I think when we enter into any relationship, we will come in with our own emotional history, our own set of patterns that we're aware of and not aware of. And we come in with all this conditioning that will literally shape our behaviors. And it is really challenging to fully show up for another person and to be able to connect with another person. We're talking friends and any type of relationship when you have your perception being dominated by what happened in the past, because our perception will be coded by oftentimes by our past pain. And if we don't do that inner work to be able to undo that past pain, then it's going to be really hard to enter into the present moment with openness and clear sightedness. Like, I literally won't be able to see you well if the heaviness of the past is just loaded up in front of my vision.
What do you think are the biggest misconceptions that people have about friend love and emotional intimacy? Or just like interpersonal relationships, like
Mm,
especially like colleagues, like working situations,
mm.
that sort of thing.
It's interesting. One of the biggest misconceptions too, it revolves around intimate partnership and you expecting every part of your emotional range to be sort of fulfilled and enticed by just one person, which actually creates more challenges in the relationship. So you can have like a workmate or a friend who is just, they bring such a light into your life, and the laughs that you get from them can only come from them because of the connection that the two of you have. So I think you can have quite powerful, deep relationships with people, even when you're in a partnership. And it's rather healthy to be able to have, just this sort of wide range of people who just bring out different sides of you. Your partner's only going to be able to really like activate a ton of you, but they're going to be people who are just like spark a light in you that you're like, whoa, like I didn't even see that side of myself.
I mean, I just can't help but ask about like how gender plays into this and like how our expression of gender plays into this. Cause like emotional intimacy, like there's been times where I have, like one time on Queer Eye, for instance, that I was blown away with the emotional intimacy of like young straight men was the episode in New Orleans where Karamo took our, like the frat house that we did, and he like took them for this like fireside chat.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy shit. Like when I was their age, if that would have tried to have happened, I feel like every single guy on that trip would have been like, this is fucking gay. I'm not doing this. Like, this is like, how do you think that like masculinity, femininity, like gender roles, like how do those play into like emotional intimacy?
This is so funny that you asked. So I was just in San Francisco and I did a big event there, and there was like, I think like 1,300 people for the book launch for How to Love Better. And my buddy Forrest was in conversation with me. And as soon as we started, I was like, the first thing I said, I was like, I'm so happy that we got to reunite the Sensitive Boys Club. And the crowd literally cheered. Even the idea of like Sensitive Boys Club, right? Like we're both married. He has a beautiful wife, like just two straight dudes. But I think there's a big shift in culture. Like my homies, like, you know, I feel like if masculinity should require a vast range. Like what does that actually mean? It's hard to even pinpoint exactly, but I feel like it should absolutely include you being able to engage with your emotions and to do your part to bring harmony into the environments that you are in. So that means vulnerability, that means being honest, that means like when another person is trying to connect with you about something deeper than like the normal, you know, like sports and all this other stuff, but like really trying to show a side of themselves that you can meet that, especially if it's someone that you care about. And honestly, like I love when my boys are like, I love you, because it's true. I love you. Like I love you so much. And our union as friends is like, it has absolutely formed all of us as individuals. And I think it's changing. I see it changing within my own friend groups. And these are people like, I like to meditate a lot, meditate 2 hours a day, been meditating a lot for 13 years, but they don't. But there's still, I feel like like a shift in the culture where a lot more men are just being honest about how important we are to each other in a way that feels very different from the 90s.
Yeah, I see that too in men. And I guess I'm encouraged by it. It also kind of holds up a mirror to me in the ways that like I've shunned connection with men because I was so rejected by them, like
really?
emotional intimacy with men,
Yeah.
like straight friends or like even wanting a straight guy friend around me. It's like there's certain judgments and criticisms that I even have of like any straight guy before I've even like met him or
Interesting.
like I feel like, ooh, like I'm just kind of like scared of them. And one thing that I was about to say that I think could be even like controversial is like, you know, people will say like, you know, masculinity, like Mark Zuckerberg, he literally just said a little bit of toxic masculinity or a little bit of corporate masculinity shouldn't be a bad thing. But I would almost venture that like the need to define feminine and masculine as different is part of the root cause of this.
Can I tell you, whenever someone is like, whenever I hear the word masculine energy and feminine energy, that's my trigger point. That's my like shut off point. It's like human beings are literally a universe. Like you are a universe. So to be able to say that, to even think that you are just these set of 4 or 5 words, that's ludicrous.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense at all because, you know, one day I can be super strong or one day I can be super soft. And that is true for any individual. So trying to say like playing with the binary, like being like, this is what you are and this is what you are. No, dude, that makes absolutely no sense. You are a universe.
Because like, even like for me, like when like Pete Hegseth, for instance, or like there's these like 2 little boys who like haunt my timeline. They're called like conservative kids. And they're like, I'm a conservative kid. Of course I think that there shouldn't be men playing on women's sports teams. And they come up on my Instagram and it's like watching a train crash because like I just have to see it. And I just think it's so funny that someone's parent who probably claims that kids are being indoctrinated by like the woke mind virus has his own kids out here trying to indoctrinate and propagandize other little kids to make them conservative kids or, you know, whatever. But it's like that type of person, not the kids, because I don't want to get fully, please don't come kill me. But the dad or like Pete Hegseth, it's like, you try wearing a dress in the heels that I wear and walk down the street. Like the masculinity, like the courage and conviction and strength, physical, emotional, and mental. Because like my ankles and my big toe bunions, I don't think most straight men that have never worn heels could even know what a woman or someone who wears heels goes through. It's like, it's really fucking painful. I'm like, not kidding. It's really fucking hard. But it also takes a lot of courage, which are traditionally more masculine things, like me doing extremely feminine things. Whereas a woman, like a wife has to, like Pete Hegseth's wife, the courage that it must take to be married to someone like Pete Hegseth, or the courage that it must take, Melania, the courage that she must have to be married to Donald Trump. That's some balls, okay? You got some balls, Melania. I'd be scared as shit, traditionally masculine. So it's just, you could really turn these binaries on their head. And I think the need to like separate them and define them is part of the division. And it's part of like what all of this, all of this comes from. That was such a tangent. I've reached out.
Can I point out too, you said something that was so like key to what it is as a human being for all of us. No, like as soon as we're born, our minds are a sponge and we're taking in everything. Anything that we come in contact with is literally setting up our conditioning. And we don't quite realize that our conditioning is not just what we consume intellectually, like what we read and whatnot, but it's also what we repeat. And a lot of what we take in will sort of reinforce certain behavior patterns and ideologies. And we don't realize how actually simple it is to set up someone's value system just from what they're consuming. So when we think about like, okay, all these different ideologies that are holding the world together right now, everything would be so different if you were born 100 years later or 100 years ago. It's just, what are you consuming? But then when you think about that, it actually activates your own power, because you're like, okay, if my mind is composed of repetition, then I don't need to continue being the way that I am. I can accept myself, but also start taking my evolution into my own hands, because if I feel like I'm lacking peace, or if I'm lacking awareness, or whatever, other skill that I could have, I can start intentionally choosing to repeat it, and you can create yourself almost like from the start.
What's in it for us with emotional resilience? Like, how can we shift the narrative of like rejection, conflict, or loss being something that diminishes us, makes us less than, makes us this like victim? How can it actually be like a teacher or give us emotional resilience?
I think it's the skillfulness, honestly, because you can do so much work. You can do hours and hours of therapy, hours and hours of meditating, and that's not necessarily going to make your exterior environment more peaceful. Like, life can still be super chaotic, but you can build a skill set that's going to help you maneuver the ups and downs and show up as the value-oriented person that you want to be. And I think a lot of this, I think one of the main skills, especially as we've been talking, the reactiveness, the impulsiveness, all of that is based on speed, right? It's like you hear something triggered, boom, attack. And it's like lightning fast. But instead, I have found my own power by slowing down, by literally being able to, I hear something that's challenging, or someone says something to me that I don't like. And I'm like, okay, I know I can feel the way I would react in the past. I could feel the defensiveness.
Yeah, I'm about to like fucking blow this bitch up on Instagram.
But I'm like, I don't even know if that's going to be helpful right now. Like, what is actually going to be most productive in this moment? But in the act of slowing down and being like, okay, I can honor the tension that's there, but let me actually see, like, does this align with my values? And how would I want myself to show up? And honestly, just like pumping the brakes on everything has helped me, regain my power from the past.
It's even like in this moment, I have to say, I'm like kind of frustrated with myself, because like we've had Gretchen Rubin on the podcast twice, once when we were audio, once in video. And both times that I've interviewed her, a lot of my stress and tension comes from comments. Like, I don't need to read these fucking comments.
You read the comments? You're
not always. I've gotten so much better. I've really like limited myself. Like, I used to like actually spend like the first 4 years of my career, I like spent time in the comments. I don't every time now, not every post.
Yeah.
But if I do, and when I do, which like Gretchen and I like developed like strategies for, it would be like 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night. Then I realized the morning was like not ever a good time for me. So like I would limit it like comments like in the afternoon. every once in a while though, because those cornrows, as I call them, are like habits run deep. Like sometimes I'll just like read the news in the morning and I'll like slip into like a comment. And the next thing I know, I'll be like, um, and that is frustrating for me, but it's like just that reactivity and like how much time my brain spends like wanting to like, cause it's like, if it might not happen like once in a week, but then if it like, when it does happen, like I'll be thinking about it and that just like bothers me. Like I hate that like I want to change people's hearts and minds. Like I gotta like pull a Mel Robbins and just like let them think they're problematic shit and like just hope that they will get better educated at some point.
I think that's one of the hardest things about any type of personal transformation is that you see something that's working for you and you want to share it with others. But there's a few things that are true. It's like, one, what works for you may not necessarily work for another. Like I really enjoy meditating. I've been meditating, in this particular Vipassana tradition for a number of years, and it works great for me, but it's not for everybody. And the same thing, like I've seen so many people benefit from different modes of therapy and all that. So what works for you in the first instance, you think, oh, this is going to work for everybody. It's going to help so many people. So they should adopt it just the way I have. But the reality is that no, everyone's conditioning is very unique. And the other end of that is that the homie Lao Tzu was really correct. Like thousands of years ago, he wrote this little poem about how you think you can change the world, but you really can't. You can only change yourself. And then hopefully people will be inspired to change in a similar way. But you can't bet on it. You can only do you as hard as possible, live, be your light, shine as brightly as possible, and then hopefully people will be inspired.
So would Lao Tzu say like, if I did a post about like reproductive health care access or like HIV social safety net or like whatever the fuck, you just can't be in them comments. You just like got to do what you're going to do.
And then other people may ride the wave with you. They may be inspired by your courage and it may reignite their courage to also speak up. But honestly,
but not very inspiring to like call someone a dumb bitch in your comments. And it kind of goes against the whole like getting better motif and like healing thing.
No, like it's not going to fix anything, because I think a lot of times people act out in the comments and they show these like the almost like worst version of themselves, because if you do that in real life, you'll go to jail. Like so like in the comments, it's very different. And
I probably wouldn't go to jail for like, I wouldn't like hit him.
No, but
I'd hit him with my verbal.
But think about the horrible things that people may say, when they say online in the comments, and then it's like, but you can't like act those things out, because then you're endangering yourself. So I think people show the worst version of themselves sometimes in the comments. So my thing is like, you have like, I was looking at your account today. You have like 5 million plus followers just on Instagram. I can't even imagine across all networks. I have 3 million. Like, I can't read those comments. Like, there's too many people. So many different points of views. And honestly, if I just read the comments, it would just destroy my mental health, because I would be feeding my mind opportunities to react, as opposed to just sticking to the mission. If this helps someone build some degree of self-awareness, which is what I try to do with all the posts and the articles that I write and the books that I write, hopefully you can gain some degree of self-awareness, whether you agree with me or not, but you can examine your life and see, okay, where can I make changes? But other than that, it's up to you. You're just throwing it in the ocean.
Now, we've talked a lot about my own stuff, but for anyone that's watching, anyone who's listening, let's get into like, how do we choose love? How do we love better? How do we do better connection? What are the first steps to bringing more kindness and compassion into our relationships? I'm also hoping that it's going to involve meditation.
Yeah, I think there is an element of like the reality of everyone who's alive today is, whether you connect with the word trauma or not, you have absolutely had challenging moments, hurt that you've experienced, maybe even some sort of grief or heartbreak. And you have to understand that all of that imprints itself on the mind. It will literally shape the mind, and it'll shape the way your behaviors manifest in daily life. So when you think about your relationship, it is highly beneficial to have some sort of introspective practice. For my wife and I, we meditate, and that has opened up a whole new chapter. Literally the first 6 years of our relationship, it was like living in a hurricane. We were living in a constant blame game. Whenever I would feel tension in my mind, I would try to figure out, how is it your fault? not my fault, like no accountability. Same thing with her. We were just constantly blaming each other, blaming each other. We were going nowhere fast, zero emotional maturity between the two of us. But when we started meditating, the self awareness started slowly growing. And we both started seeing, wait, this isn't about you. I'm just trying to pick a fight because I don't feel good right now. And I was unaware that I didn't feel good. And that's a common tendency of the mind where if you have tension, it tries to expand itself and it will look for more cannon fodder. It will look for like what is an old argument that I can pick up and, bring to the surface. And we had this one moment that was it clarified it for the both of us where I was in the kitchen working on my laptop and she was in the living room working on hers. And we were apart for like 2 hours just working. And she comes into the kitchen laughing. And she's like, I just spent the last 2 hours trying to figure out how this tension in my mind is your fault. And I just kept going further and further back in time. And then I realized that it had nothing to do with you. And she's laughing. And I'm like,
What's
oh my
the funny
gosh.
part?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, you saved me. Like I was about to like be attacked and I had nothing to do with it. But it was a moment where I was like, wait, the same way that you do that, I do that too. And that's when it became so important to understand that like not only is self-awareness key, not only is healing yourself so you can break old patterns, but leaning on communication. And that the way it looks like now on a daily basis is as soon as we wake up in the morning, we tell each other how we feel, unprompted. It's like, I feel good, feel energized, don't feel good, feel sad, something, from yesterday is still bugging me, but we let each other know where we are in our emotional range. We do that one time in the morning, one time in the middle of the afternoon. And that has been so helpful because then I know if you don't feel good, I know that I can give you space. I can give you support. We can talk about it if you need to, but I'm aware to, if you're feeling a little spicy, I'm fully aware and I don't have to get upset with you or anything like that. So it gives you the information you need to both be successful around each other.
I'm taking that. Mark and I got to do, actually, our couples therapist has been telling us to do those check-ins.
Yeah.
For a really long time. I'm just like not getting into the habit. I got to get in the habit.
But do it unprompted. Like when you feel a switch in your own emotional range, it's not like your partner doesn't have to like ask you. You can just tell them like, whoa, like I'm not feeling really good right now. And also not in a sit down manner. It has to be super casual, almost like, there's no like sit down check-in. It's just like you're walking across each other in the living room or whatnot. And you're like, feeling pretty good. Yeah.
That's nice, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, good. Thanks for the information. Now I'm going to know not to slip into an argument just in case. Yeah.
I feel like, are we going to break Google for like, how do I find an emotionally evolved man? Like, because you're really giving it to us today, honey. Okay, so I don't need this. This isn't for me because I'm actually one of the best listeners I've ever met. People actually tell me that fuck everybody laughing. I see everybody laughing right now. I'm a really good listener. People tell me that all the time. Like, my husband, my mom, all my friends. Karamo actually says a lot of times that I'm an especially good listener. And I know that every time he tells us that his grandma said that God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, I know he's not ever talking about me because I am a very engaged listener. That being said, how can we be better listeners and more present partners with friends and family members and like work colleagues?
You really have to learn how to practice a very specific type of compassion where you are intentionally pulling yourself out of your perspective to witness the perspective of another person. And what that looks like practically is that when someone is telling you their view, you are doing your best to listen selflessly. You're not listening to retort. You're not listening to like, okay, how can I one up them or try to win this argument?
Make sure that they know that this was because of the patriarchy and racism.
Or that you're not like listening and just thinking about, okay, because they said that, this is what I'm going to say next. You're just taking a moment to just observe, to just listen, to just take in their view. And if they love you, they're going to do their best to try to give that same thing back to you so that they can listen to you selflessly. And I think one thing I've been practicing is like when I find my mind drifting off into my, thinking about my own thoughts when I should be listening to my wife, for example, I will literally pick up my attention, bring it back to her words. And this is the thing where we're talking about before in terms of repetition. It takes repetition for you to build a new skill. The mind is just like anything else. It's you're building specific mental muscles, and listening is one of them. So I remember just repeatedly, okay, my mind's drifting, bring it back to my wife's words, bring it back to my wife's words. And over time it becomes easier to just keep that focus there.
So just like practice.
Practice and let it be hard. If it's hard, it's okay. Like you don't just run a marathon. Like it takes training. It's the same thing. When I think about meditating, I'm literally just taking myself to the mental gym. Like those qualities of awareness, non-reaction, compassion, everybody has them, but they need to be strengthened over time. Same thing with listening.
Meditation, fierce. How does it work? Why does it work? And I heard you say that you do it for 2 hours a day. That feels immediately daunting and overwhelming. And like, I get the fuck it's before I even go. Cause like, I ain't ever going to do 2 hours a day, I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah.
like, can you tell us some cool stuff about meditation?
I think about it really practically. Some people think about it in terms of like, religion, spirituality. I think about it in a practical sense where you're literally taking yourself to the mental gym. Like to be able to experience inner peace in your mind, literally a mind without tension, a mind that can observe things clearly. You have to train yourself to do that. And when I go away to the Vipassana courses, they're divided into two sections where the first 3 days of a course, you'll focus on the breath, the natural breath, and you'll just observe reality as it is. And then the mind becomes so calm and concentrated over time that you then take that attention and start observing the body. And you can cultivate the mind to such an extent where the body can feel much more to its true nature, where like we feel it as solid, but in reality, it's not solid at all. It's just that your awareness is dim. But when you heighten that awareness, you can feel that the body is just like a flowing river of atoms almost. And you can feel when I feel my body, it's not really like my hand doesn't feel like hard. It feels soft and changing and flowing. And I've done longer courses of, 20, 30, 45 days. And to me, I think about it as like, it's the best investment I've ever made. It's not only helped me pull myself out of my own self-created hell, but I have been able to almost reactivate all of my relationships and create an opening for them so that they can actually be deeper. It's created a moment of almost like personal renaissance where I've been reconnected with my creativity. I had spent so much of my life like that where I never even thought of myself as a writer. But the moment that I started meditating and my mind started becoming lighter, I was like, where are these poems coming from? Like, what is happening right now? And it was just that the tension got out of the way. And I think that this, especially this Vipassana meditation style in the Ubakin Goenka tradition, it really introduces you to that truth of impermanence. And you start learning that like you've been fighting change your whole life, and that actually just makes life a lot harder. And that coming from a place of attachment actually makes it so that the river of the universe that's always flowing forward, it just knocks you down because your attachments aren't going to be able to combat change. Like you need to learn how to let go, how to flow. What can you control? You can control your own actions, and then everything else is just subject to change and flow. So there's so many things that I've learned from meditating, and I feel like it's just a better investment than the S&P 500. Like I keep meditating because it just makes everything better.
How did you start?
I started because one of my best friends, Sam, he was someone that I partied with a ton when I was running away from my emotions. Pretty sure he was doing something similar. And so we were crazy, we were wild together, but he did a course and then he sent me this email that was all about love, compassion, and goodwill. And at first I was like, what is he smoking? Like, what is going on? But he was just being so truthful and earnest about how important love is, how important compassion is, and how we should have goodwill for all beings. And I knew in that moment I had stopped the hard drugs and that I didn't want to lose my life, because I almost took myself to the point where like I almost lost my life when I was 23 from just like filling up my body with too many drugs. And I knew that I needed to reformat my mind. I needed to just change the way this heaviness was manifesting in my mind and just alleviate it in some manner. And I was fortunate that the technique worked well for me.
Because there's so many styles of meditation, like any advice for people on like how to find one for you, like how long you need to do it, like to get benefits?
Yeah, I think with anything, repetition is essential, right? You have to like you saw the benefits as you were repeating it from those series of months that you were doing it. Um, but I think the key thing is you need to find a technique that meets you where you're at, that meets you where you're at. Because for me, like I loved going into the 10-day retreat. If I felt like it fit my mind when I did the 20, 30, 45-day retreats that were totally silent, it continued to strengthen my mind and I kept learning, but that's not for everybody. So you have to kind of look out there. There are lighter forms of meditation. There are different forms of meditation on apps. There are also so many different forms of therapy. So to me, it's like you cultivate yourself in whatever way actually meets you where you're at, any way that's challenging but not overwhelming. That's where the sweet sauce is that you do want to challenge yourself to be able to develop new skills, but you don't want to overwhelm yourself. So you have to kind of walk that balance. And then if your intuition connects with it, it's like, oh, this feels good, I should spend time on this. Then you're going in the right direction.
If there's someone who's watching this, listening to this, who's struggling with self-worth in love, what's your advice for breaking unhealthy patterns?
You have to remember that you're a walking miracle. Like we live in this universe and we forget like how almost impossible it is for a particular human being to exist.
Like seriously, because there was like so many eggs and so many sperms.
Yeah. And we're talking billions and billions of years of everything.
But you're so right. We are walking miracles.
You're a walking miracle and don't you forget it.
Yes.
It's like whenever you're down on yourself. And if you can't
walk, then you're still a fucking miracle.
Absolutely. I think any chance at life is like a potential to honestly do good actions. And those good actions can help shape a beautiful future.
So we love to end our episodes and ask our guests for 3 tangible ways that we can get better at the topic at hand. Can you give us 3 daily practices that will help us choose love?
One thing that's really important is that you cannot skip your gratitude practice. Even when times are really hard, you have to remind yourself that you still have water to drink, food to eat, and you have the things that can help you stabilize yourself. You can't forget about them. The other thing is to stop having a combative relationship with change. You need to remember that change doesn't just take things away. Change is the reason that you exist. So it should inspire you to really be present, because you can love the people who are right in front of you, but you have to actively be present so you can really enjoy them, because not everything lasts forever. So enjoy it now. And the last thing is that don't forget about your personal growth. Like there's still more healing to do. There's still more letting go. The mind does have a lot of heaviness in it, but you can do this work of letting go so that you can see more clearly and love better.
That's Diego. Okay. Stand by. The book cover, so beyond beautiful.
I'm glad you like it.
The colors, so attracted, so beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Your new book, How to Love Better, it offers so much wisdom on transforming our relationships. If someone takes away just one thing from your latest work, but also makes them want to read it and listen. Did you do the audiobook?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that you did that, Diego. What would be your non-spoiler biggest takeaway hope?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is that relationships don't necessarily start with perfection. I think that's something that we crave, is to just find the right person and then everything just falls into place. But it's not really like that. It takes a lot of energy to learn your own emotional history, to learn your partner's emotional history, and just doubling down on the fact that you are going to keep changing, your partner's going to keep changing. So you have to be humble enough to keep the learning process going. Because when I think about my own relationship with my wife, the way she liked her happiness to be supported 2 years ago is very different from how it is now. So that's just part of life, and you have to accept that change is happening.
Diego, I love you so much. I feel like I really was not clocking how much I have a combative relationship with change. That will be one of the things in our outro, but thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you so much. Where should people get your book?
You can find it at local bookstores, Barnes and Nobles, online. It's out there.
We love Diego so much. Thank you so much for coming on. We love you.
Thank you so much.
New book is available now. Follow everywhere and stick around for our outro, where we are going to talk about what my favorite takeaways from the episode were, what I learned the most about, and what I'm curious about now. So stick around. Well, one of my favorite takeaways from that episode is that I'm like kind of a little in love with Diego. Like, not used to thinking that like straight men are like that cute and evolved and like amazing. Very happy for him and his relationship but also so interesting. He said that the first 6 years of their relationship was like a hurricane and really difficult, but what an example of like of a transformation within a relationship. And I just thought that was really beautiful. If you follow Matt XIV on Instagram, I love their work so much, but they were saying how like this whole like alpha male thing, like alpha male behavior now is like waking up at 4, doing 19 layers of skincare, going to the gym, doing like a deep, like emotional course. And then like, whereas like 5, 10, 20 years ago, they would have called you like either feminine, metrosexual, or gay, or all of that. So it's like, there's that movement of male, but then there's also like this incredibly conservative movement of men. So it's just, what's the state of men, emotions, masculinity, like how, and I mean, we had Mark Zuckerberg just saying all this stuff. I'm curious about like what's going on with dudes. Like, are the guys okay? Are the men doing okay? After spending some time with Diego, I'm feeling like some of them are, but are all of them? Curious. State of men. Oh, change. Another thing I'm curious about now. Why am I so curious, or why am I so afraid of change? Like, change freaks me out. Like, company changes, work changes, life changes, changes with my animals, changes with my husband, changes. I am afraid of changes. So I want to have a more comfortable relationship with change. I want to work on that. I need to work on that. That was something I'm very curious about now. And finally, like, how can we get everyone gratitude? It was really coming up for me with Diego when he was saying, even in times of like strife, we still need to work on our gratefulness. And he was talking about like, you know, grateful that we still have clean water, grateful that we have food. And I just immediately thought of like the people who don't. And I thought about the people who are working to make sure that people do have access to clean water and to good food. And I also was thinking about how difficult that work is for those people who are doing that scary, difficult work of getting resources for people. So I'm kind of curious about just like caretakers and people who need a lot more help, because there's no end to people who need help. But I'm just, how can we get involved to make sure that people have more food and water? Because it definitely came up for me. Takeaways. My favorite, my favorite things. Words that put defenses up will always be there. So like, if I notice that like my defenses come up and I'm not listening anymore and I'm just already forming my retort, or already talking about like, or already thinking about why I want to tell you that these things are wrong, I'm already not actively listening to you. And so just that was really interesting. I noticed that in myself. Part of love is forgiveness. So that makes me think about what we were saying a few weeks ago about how you don't have to agree with someone 100% to be in community with them. So if I want to be in community with you, I have love for you. And if you did something that pissed me off, I need to forgive it, because like we're going to be in the community together. So I don't want to be walking around with like grudges with a bunch of people who pissed me off. So maybe you did piss me off a year or 2 years ago, 3 weeks ago. I don't know. But I have to actively forgive you now. That doesn't mean I have to like let you back in my life, but I can totally forgive you and want the best for you and have goodwill for you. And so just like, what's my relationship with forgiveness is something I'm curious about, and also something I need to improve on in our takeaways. Oh, and we're literally a miracle. We are literally a miracle. You being here, everything that we just biologically and physiologically came up against to literally get here, it is nothing short of a miracle. And let's not forget that. So I love you. Thank you for coming on Getting Better. We'll see you next week. We love you so much. And thanks for being here with us. We love you. Bye.